This is Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review with your CFL Week 16 preview. We'll take a look at the Canadian Football League slate for the upcoming week. Let's begin with the Friday game this week. The Saskatchewan Roughriders taking on the Ottawa Red Blacks. East versus West matchup here in this game. And a really interesting one considering the fact that, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, you look at their record, you see that it's 3-10. It's not very good, obviously. But this is a team that, from a point spread perspective, they've been an undervalued commodity for a while now. We're talking about a Saskatchewan team on a 5-0 against the spread surge heading into this game. All of those in the underdog role, which they're once again in here. The 3 losses during that span coming by 8 points or less. They haven't won on the road yet, but they've also covered 2 straight on the road. And this Saskatchewan team just seems to be finally coming together. And I've noticed they're playing better, cleaner football. The offense is playing solid with Darian Durant at quarterback. They're moving the ball better. They're making less mistakes. There are not as many turnovers as there was. And the defense, which when Chris Jones is your head coach, and in this case your defensive mastermind, it's not an easy defense to pick up. He has complex, aggressive blitz packages that make up his defense on that side of the ball, and Saskatchewan clearly struggled early in the season with their lack of depth, lack of quality personnel to pick up that defense. But they're playing better now on that side of the ball. They've allowed less than 20 points per game in their last 3 games, 58 points over that span. Playing better football. Ottawa, not so much. I mean, the Ottawa Red Blacks are clinging to first place in a very bad East Division, 6-1. The other 3 teams in the East, when you talk about Toronto, Hamilton, and Montreal, they are all below 500. It's not a good division. And you look at what Ottawa's done lately, 3-6 straight up, 2-7 against the spread their last 9 games, 1-4 straight up, 0-5 against the spread against West Division teams during that span. The offense with Trevor Harris was good last week, but the defense let them down in a 40-33 loss against BC, and we had BC as my CFL Play of the Week. Last week, we were able to cash a ticket with that one. Hope you guys were as well. And basically, when you look at it, the Ottawa Red Blacks just haven't been able to put a good, complete game together on both sides of the football, where their offense and defense are clicking at the same time. I think the offense might be in tough here because they've lost their outstanding offensive lineman. He was the most outstanding O-lineman last year in the CFL, Sir Vincent Rogers. He's out for the season with an ankle injury. Against the blitzing schemes of Saskatchewan defensively, that could be a little bit of a struggle for them to open up holes for the ground attack and protect quarterback Trevor Harris. So Saskatchewan might be able to do some damage here defensively against what could be a little bit of a depleted Ottawa offensive line against that stiff Saskatchewan pass rush. We see this numbers. Ottawa 6.5 point home favorite. Total in this game about 53, 52.5. Lean to Saskatchewan here plus the points, and also probably would lean under the total. I think we're going to have a little bit of a lower scoring game here between these 2 teams Friday night. On Saturday, the next game, October 8th, BC at Winnipeg. An interesting game because BC has been fantastic on the road all season long. They've had put up terrific numbers, really, on the road this season. But the problem with BC in this spot is I'm not sure they're going to be the more desperate team. I mean, they bounced back from a road loss in Edmonton 2 weeks ago to beat Ottawa at home last week in a high-scoring affair. The offense with Jonathan Jennings, the dual-threat quarterback, continues to play well, and the defense, a rare, struggling outing last week against Ottawa. I think they can correct that. The one concern I would have, though, is Winnipeg's probably the more desperate team here. Winnipeg is trying to hold on to their spot, in 3rd place in the West Division, trying to stave off the Edmonton Eskimos for that spot. BC is comfortably in 2nd. They don't look like they're going to be caught at this stage by anyone. Winnipeg 8-6, BC 9-4. Still going to be tricky, I think, for Winnipeg to move up to 2nd place in the West Division. So, Winnipeg going to be looking to bounce back. They've now lost 2 games in a row. The heartbreaker against Calgary. I thought they'd be a little bit vulnerable last week against Edmonton after such a heartbreaking loss to Calgary the week before, and sure enough, they lose outright as favorites, 40-26 at home against Edmonton last week. And all of a sudden, their defense starting to show some holes. I mean, Toronto put up 29 against them, Calgary 36, Edmonton 40 points last week. So we're starting to see some defensive issues with this Winnipeg team, probably why the total in this game sitting at 55. BC's offense is clicking right now. They're definitely rolling. Should be an interesting game. It's a big game for both of these teams. There's no question. Let's not forget. Last year, these two teams played. Winnipeg won both games. They won at home 23-13, and they won in BC 29-26, although that was Drew Willie, the quarterback. He's gone, and he's in Toronto now. It's Matt Nichols at quarterback. The offense still playing well enough for Winnipeg, but we'll see if they can improve defensively here. Real tough call for me. I'm reluctant to go against BC. They've been a big-time money maker and a profit producer for me for my CFL bankroll this year. Don't really want to fade them when they've been good on the road, but at the same time, just worry that Winnipeg, a little bit more of a desperate team coming into this game, coming off 2 straight losses. So a lean to BC, but not sure I'll get there with a bet. Monday, we've got 2 games on Monday, October 10th, because it's Canadian Thanksgiving. So you've got a Canadian Thanksgiving doubleheader of CFL action on Monday, October 10th. First game, Edmonton, Montreal. The Edmonton Eskimos rallied the troops after a really tough loss against Saskatchewan in overtime. In fact, they suffered 2 straight heartbreaking losses in a row in overtime against Calgary and Saskatchewan. Edmonton sort of, called a team meeting, got everyone together, says, hey, we need to pick things up. We've lost a few games in a row now. We're fading. We're below 500. We need to get it in gear so that we guarantee ourselves a spot in the postseason. And sure enough, Edmonton, since that team meeting, they've responded pretty well. I mean, they've had 2 straight wins against BC, a very good BC team at home 2 weeks ago, 27-23, and then last week on the road, 40-26 win against Winnipeg. And they've now outgained their opponent in 4 straight games. So that is definitely a positive sign. Mike Riley and the Eskimos offense starting to look like they're explosive selves once again. They struggled for a little bit there, but they're getting that passing game going. Darrell Walker and Adarius Bowman getting it going in the receiving game. On the ground, whether it's Shakir Bell, whether it's John White, they've been able to run the football very well as of late. So going to be a tough task here for the Montreal Alouettes, a team that's had a very, very hard season. 4-9 straight up, 5-8 against the spread, just 2-5 at home. In fact, they got their second home win last week against Toronto. Coming out of the bye week, they made a coaching change. Jim Popp stepped down as the head coach, the right move, because he doesn't know what he's doing as a head coach. He's a good GM, not a great head coach. Jacques Chapdelaine takes over the head coaching role. Montreal off a bye. And sure enough, Montreal responds. They played a very good game, 38-11, not only winning against Toronto, just beating down the Argos. That being said, this is still a team that's had a really bad season. They had one good performance, and it was against a team that I feel is spiraling out of control. Toronto on the field is not playing well. They're making questionable decisions. They're changing quarterbacks left and right. Scott Milanovic, the head coach, has just basically gotten rid of 3 of his top receivers because they're malcontents, because they're not buying into the team concept, because they're not, devoting themselves fully into their career, into their craft. And as a result, you've got a dysfunctional Toronto team that lost that game. So I don't want to overreact to Montreal crushing the Argos last week and say, hey, this team's back on track. I'm not convinced. They're going to have to show me once again in this game. We'll get back to Edmonton, Montreal for play of the week at the end of this video. The last game in the CFL Week 16 slate, Calgary and Toronto, the second game taking place on Monday, Canadian Thanksgiving. The Calgary Stampeders, what more can you say about how dominant this team has been? The best team in the CFL. If you're betting Calgary pretty much week in and week out, you're doing very, very well. What a team. I mean, 12-1-1 straight up on the season, 11-3 against the spread. Another great win for them in Hamilton last week, 36-17. You were worried they might suffer an emotional hangover or letdown after a thrilling come-from-behind win against Winnipeg where they won on a last-second field goal, but they didn't have any letdown whatsoever. Anytime Calgary is laying a field goal, even less than a touchdown, it's hard to go against them. Bo Levi Mitchell is tremendous record as starting quarterback of this Calgary team. He just doesn't lose very often, and his team's been great on both sides of the football. I mean, the offense can't be stopped. Look at the numbers that the offense has put up. In their last 7 games, 37, 30, 45, 34, 48, 36, 36 points scored in their last 7 games. Can't stop this Calgary offense. Bo Mitchell's finding his receivers. They're running the football with Jerome Messam. A very tall order. That being said, this is a very, very concerning spot for Calgary because as good as they've played, They just keep winning games. For the most part, they've been covering numbers. But the last time they were favored by this many points, 9.5, was at home against Winnipeg. They had a big lead. They didn't protect it. Winnipeg came back to take the lead, and Calgary, of course, won on the last-second field goal. This could be a week where Calgary just doesn't have that sharpness and brings their A game. For Toronto, I don't know if I can trust them, though. I mean, it is such a mess on and off the field. Drew Willie, the quarterback, hasn't been there long enough to know the offense inside and out. It's a complex offense that Scott Milanovic has here with this Argos team. They haven't looked good on that side of the ball. The defense has been absolutely horrendous. And that's the biggest concern with the Argos coming into this game. You got to stop a potent Calgary offense when you've given up, 46, 29, and 38 points in your last 3 games. This team's on a slide, not playing good. 1-7 straight up, 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 games. It's a home run circle the wagon spot for Toronto. They just had the coach, say adios to 3 of the top receivers because they're not playing like teammates. They're malcontents in Torrey Gurley, Vidal Hazelton, and Kevin Elliott all saying goodbye, but now you got a weak receiving core, a young receiving core, but maybe it's a wake-up call. Maybe Toronto comes out with a spirited effort. That being said, still don't know if I can trust Toronto to come out with a spirited effort, even getting +9 as a home underdog in this game. Tough call. Calgary's just a hard team to go against, but I actually would maybe take a stab in the dark with the Argos +9 if I had to get involved in this game. Probably lean over the total as well. I'm just not sure Toronto's defense can slow down this Calgary prolific offense right now at this stage of the season. All right, let's wrap up my CFL Week 16 preview with the play of the week. Boy, the play of the week has been great in the CFL. We're 10-5 now with the CFL plays of the week this season. 67%, 10-5, been fantastic. We've given you a play of the week every single week. And for Week 16, we're going to go back to the Edmonton-Montreal game. It's a cheap price to lay with the superior team in my mind, and a team that's really been playing like a different team since they had that team meeting and got themselves back on track with 2 very good wins in a row against BC and Winnipeg. I think they make it 3 in a row. Let's take the Edmonton Eskimos, -3. Rotation number 481, Edmonton -3 over Montreal. That's on Monday. That's your CFL Week 16 Play of the Week. That's going to wrap up your my look at CFL Week 16 from a betting perspective. I'm Ian Cameron.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts and shop for lines at sbrodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.